Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we're going to talk about how avoidants talk about you to their friends. This was requested in the comments, and so I'm just making this video for that person, but I feel like this could be helpful to anybody. I actually saw this comment today when I'm recording. You guys are going to see this video later, but I just saw it and I'm like, that's not a bad idea. And the reason why is because another person requested this a while ago and it's on my request list. But I see that this person got a lot of like thumbs up and stuff. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to just do this one because a lot of people are asking for it. But all the requests that you guys have, I have it on a list. I just go through it. But this one has been something I was going to do. And now somebody asked again. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that today. How avoidants talk about you to their friends. Okay. So this is really interesting. Okay. Because a lot of these things, there's many different versions of it. So you might not have all of these, you'll only have one of them. It's not really that avoidants say all of this, it's usually just one or two, but I think it will help. And the first one is the most common one. And this is the most common one that you guys bring to me that we have touched on in consulting calls, etc. It is that they call you the person I'm dating, not the person that I'm in a relationship with, not the person, not my girlfriend, not my boyfriend. They say I'm the person I'm dating. And this is if you guys are in a relationship for a really long time. And this one is comical, but also frustrating because dating almost acts like you guys are like literally like you just met. And it's not true, where I've had literal calls with you guys where you're like been together for like 10 years and they still refer you as person I'm dating. Okay. So why do they do this? A lot of the time, is not because they're uncomfortable with the commitment, even though it's part of it, but it's not why they're saying that. Most of the time, it's because they don't want other people to pry. And so if it's this person I'm dating, they're almost setting a boundary. I know it doesn't make sense, but I'm going to try and explain it, okay? By saying this person I'm dating, they're kind of saying it's not something that I want you guys to put your opinions on, right? Because most people, if you're just dating someone, especially male avoidants, they're buddy is not going to say, oh, what's she like? What does she do for a living? Like, that's not really common. It's getting more common now, but still really uncommon, right? If it's dating, okay, I'm not going to say anything. But if it's like, she's my girlfriend, they might be more likely to talk a little bit more about it, just a little bit more. And avoidants don't really want to talk about the relationship because they like to keep it very, very private. And so that's why they use the word dating. It's like a screening. It's a way to keep people out of their business. It's not because they're saying you're not important, but that one really confuses you guys, which is why I put this one first because it's very common. And a lot of people are in a situation with an avoidant and they don't even know they're dating. They think they're friends, but they will still consider it like, oh, you're cheating on me if you talk to somebody else, even though you didn't even do anything. They still think you're in a relationship, but they just don't tell you. That's like very, very frustrating. And if you guys are in that situation and you want to figure out how can I move this to something even more further, you can book a call with me. You can email me. That is pinned in the comments. Okay. And so the next point about how they talk about you to their friends is going to be more common with dismissive avoidance. It doesn't matter the gender, but it's a little more common with dismissive avoidance. And it's going to be a little strange. And you might notice it if you've heard them like, I don't know, throughout. Maybe you guys have similar friends and friends have mentioned this, but you yourself will be shocked if you knew how obvious this is, okay? They normally brag about you. Okay. And so I know it's going to be hard to believe. And the way they brag about you is accomplished based. Okay. So it really, I feel so bad for saying it like this, but it literally reminds me of like a mom or a dad bragging about their kid. I'm so sorry. I know that might even sound offensive and I didn't mean it like that. That's how they talk when how they're bragging about you. They're almost like saying like, look at, this is my accomplishment. Like, you know how some parents, like it's the extension of them. Like that's sometimes how avoidants talk about it, but it's like in a very happy way, like very, I don't know, like so much happiness radiates when they talk about this. They might say, oh yeah, he's the head scientist of this research team. She's doing great for herself. She just bought a house. She's doing so amazing, right? Like she just got this raise. Like they talk about it in an accomplishment way. And it's very interesting because they're never going to brag and say, oh yeah, he bought me all of these flowers. She is so sweet. She has been doing A, B, and C for me. She's the best cook. Like the best cook is something they might say, but it's usually they're not going to brag about the romantic gestures. They might say something like, actually, yeah, she cooks amazing. She's the best cook. Like I can't live without her food, right? They will say it like that. The best researcher I've ever seen. Have you ever read this person's paper? Like they will say it in such a way that like you would almost, if you just saw that, you would not even guess they're an avoidant. But at the same time, you will realize, okay, that's kind of like all they say. They never say this person's so romantic. They did this for Valentine's Day. I love doing, I love that we are able to go on these special dates. They don't say that. They will say it like this. This person is so amazing. This person is able to do this. Sometimes I might even say it in a financial way, but not in a way where they're bragging like you're rich and like things like that. But they might say like this person is so financially doing well for themselves because they're so emotionally regulated. That's usually the undertone of how they say this person is so accomplished because they're emotionally regulated. That's usually like where it's coming from. Okay. And so you might not see that, or you might have seen it and it might have been odd to you and you're trying to wonder, is this normal? Yeah, it's very normal. Okay. The next one is they don't tell anyone when you guys are on a break. Okay. This is very odd, and so I think we should stop on it, okay? When I mean stop on it, I think we should really try to unpack this. It's very common, okay? And so what do I mean by this, first of all? If you guys are like off and on, they never tell people when you guys are off. They tell you when you're on, but they don't say it's on. They just act like the relationship has always been ongoing. They never talk about the times when you break up, okay? And so some people think it's because of shame, which sometimes it is. But more often than not, it's a couple other things. And so I've had many consultation calls with you guys where this is occurring and you're like, okay, we have not spoken, but still they're telling people they haven't told anyone we're broken up. What's that mean? Well, first of all, it means that you're not really broken up, typically. The other thing is they're not expecting this to be the end of the relationship. They're viewing the break as not permanent. So they feel like it's not really anyone's business. What they would describe it, if you really asked them and they were very honest, they think it's time for you guys to decompress from one another. You just need space from one another. The relationship is not over. They wouldn't even call it a break if you really asked them. They're just saying, oh yeah, we're still together. We're just, we're not talking right now. Right? They might say that, but it doesn't mean there's some issue. It's usually, this is our solution. This is our temporary solution, right? They almost might talk about it in a way where it's a good thing. It's our temporary solution to our problems. Like we're resolving it. This is what we've decided, even though it might have not even been mutual. But if you ask them, they might say, yeah, we've decided on this, that we just don't need to talk right now. And so this is very odd and it can be hurtful, but it also is, I want you guys to at least be aware of why these behaviors are happening. They feel that if you guys take a break temporarily, that they can reconnect again and be stronger. Now, the other thing that I do want to bring up is a lot of times you guys are thinking, are they seeing somebody else? Most of the time, almost every avoidant I've ever worked with, the answer is no. They might even say you can see somebody else, but they will not see somebody else. It's odd. I understand that, but that's not the way they operate. Normally, they're not thinking of it like that. And they're very disengaged from when they say you can see someone else, they're just saying it because they're speaking very logically. It's not that they want you to, they actually don't want you to, but they're not expressing their emotion. They're just telling you if that's what you want, that's fine. I'm not doing it. That's usually what you see. The next one is that they don't tell their friends about you until later, sometimes years later. So this is if you guys are early in the relationship. If you guys have only been together for like 6 months, even a year, their friends might not have a clue about you. And usually later, they'll start telling their friends, but not right away. And I understand that this can be frustrating, but it does happen. It's true, okay? And if it's a fearful avoidant, sometimes they might say negative things about you. Dismissive avoidants do this too, but very less common. Fearful avoidants might say negative things when they feel triggered or traumatized. So I'm going to give an example, and it is purely an example, okay? Let's say we have a female fearful avoidant and let's say it doesn't matter what your attachment style is, okay, but you're a male in the story, okay? She might say, oh yeah, sometimes he doesn't understand me. He doesn't listen when I talk. I feel like I have to tiptoe around him because he's so emotional, right? The fearful avoidant is saying this because in their mind, the way they view things are very extreme because of the trauma they've been through. So there's a part of them that sees you as much more negative than you are. And they tell people this because this is how they coped with things when they were younger. Not all fearful avoidants do this, but a lot of times when they were younger and they were being abused, they were being mistreated, they told people briefly what was happening at home, but not fully. And so they have this habit and this mechanism with anybody they get close to, where they say small negative things out loud without giving much context. It's just something I've always noticed with fearful avoidance. Dismissive avoidance do it, but very infrequent or rare. Whereas fearful avoidance, it can sometimes even be habitual. And so if you see that, I just want you to know it is common. And if you are a person that does that, understand that it comes from the trauma you've actually experienced, okay? And so I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.